The following footage shows obscured vision of electric shock prodders being used on sheep and cattle destined for live exports. Electric shock prodders are devices that provide an electric jolt painful enough to make the animal move. As the public cannot enter the port, footage obtained is limited. As you can see from the high level of prodder use, serious questions are raised about the level and extent of stress and injury our animals experience. How many animals are being prodded? Are the same animals being repeatedly shocked? And are they being prodded in the face or genitals, which are illegal acts? These answers will never be known, as there have been no state inspectors at any West Australian port for the last 2.5 years. In that time, 5 million sheep and 1 million cattle have left for overseas markets. Despite this, federal and state governments and the live export industry publicly state high levels of animal welfare in the trade. It is not hard to see why drivers and stevedores use electric shock prodders to mistreat animals, since there is no governmental law enforcement and no penalties for abuse. So how are our animals treated during live export? A driver is seen face prodding sheep, which is illegal under state law. Face prodding is extremely painful and hence illegal. On the 17th of March 2011, this driver illegally prods a sheep in the face. We see the same driver illegally face prod sheep in November 2010. Stressed sheep climb over each other to escape the prod. Instead of using his hands to free a tightly stuck sheep, this stevedore repeatedly electric shock prodded its head and face in an attempt to make the pain jolt the animal into movement. This driver's prodding is relentless and unnecessary, as he shocks sheep to make them move closer together. The West Australian state codes of practice are clear that prodder use should be restricted and that unnecessary force and harassment should be avoided. He electric shocks some animals repeatedly. High-level stress is seen from shuddering, convulsing limbs, and agitated movements away from the prod. This man used unnecessary force and cruel methods on sheep who, due to confinement, could not escape. Here's another driver prodding a sheep that cannot escape the prodder and is potentially experiencing cruelty. A common theme is seen of animals being prodded that lack clear passage, which is potentially a cruelty act. Some of these sheep receive multiple jolts to various parts of their body. Clear stress responses of limbs thrashing and slipping, frenetic movements away from the prod are seen. Some of these sheep are forced to struggle on the spot as they are trapped by others. This driver is in a crate electric prodding sheep who physically have to move past him and his prodder to exit the truck. Basic knowledge of animal behavior will show that animals do not move towards danger. These sheep have no clear passage to escape the prodder. In fact, the prodder is placed where they will be exiting. The prodding continues even as they run past the man, as he prods them to speed up the unloading. This is highly stressful and cruel handling. Prodding occurs at multiple locations, even on ships. The sheep who are already moving, when subjected to prodding, panic, causing leaping and balking and stepping backwards to avoid unnecessary jolting. We see stevedores prodding sheep who have no room to move at all. This stevedore continues to prod a sheep even after he forces it to rise upon another sheep. These sheep have experienced multiple stages of prodding on the trucks, on the loading ramp, and even on the ship. Here we see stevedores throwing sheep. This sheep is unable to get up immediately, indicating that it has probably landed with some force. The cattle here are seen restless and flighty as they try to get away from the prodding driver. This driver illegally electric prods a cow in the face, and the pain and panic it experiences is very clear. The continuous prodding and targeting of heads results in agitated head movements and jerking, erratic cattle. Stress reactions are pronounced in this clip due to prolonged head and illegal face prodding of several cattle. This driver relentlessly used the prod throughout the unloading on the 17th of December 2010. Cattle fling their head backwards or in a downward direction upon contact with the charged electric prod. The extreme stress in the cattle can be seen from the unnatural leaping action of the cattle as they desperately try to jump out of the truck to avoid more pain from the prodder. Here he is again on the 21st of February 2011, prodding the heads of multiple cattle. He also illegally shock prods a cow on the nose. The cruel prodding of voluntarily moving cattle by this stevedore causes several cattle to lose footing on multiple occasions. Each time, instead of allowing the animals time to regain their footing, he repeatedly prods them. He is seen, maliciously and without reason, flinging his electric prod at an unsuspecting moving cow, again causing it to lose footing due to panic. From the bucking, it is clear it is experiencing a lot of pain and stress. This stevedore is clearly untrained in animal behavior. The responsibility for training this stevedore resides with the live exporter. A driver is prodding a cow with no clear passage ahead, forcing it to climb onto other animals. Once again, a driver prods a cow blocked by animals ahead several times, until it is also forced onto another cow. Here we see that these cattle would have experienced multiple stages of unnecessary shock prodding at the top of the ramp, and at the bottom of the ramp. Here we see a driver mistreating cattle on the 30th of October 2010, 20th of December 2010, and 17th of March 2011. This driver is not alone in potentially harming animals on multiple occasions. Featured stevedores and drivers have been filmed mistreating animals at more than one live export ship loading. The welfare of our animals is left entirely up to individual will. The complex legislation of live export may suggest that animal welfare expectations have not only been met but exceeded. The fact is that the West Australian state government has failed to provide funding for inspectors to enforce the legislation for the last 2.5 years. In that time, the federal and state governments have withheld basic animal welfare protection to millions of animals on Australian soil. It is absurd that these governments are currently promising to provide a guarantee of humane animal slaughter for each and every animal that leaves Australian shores. The footage of stress, distress, pain and potential abuse was obtained from a West Australian port where personnel are aware of being filmed by the public. What must be happening at Australian sale yards, feedlots and other intensive livestock industry premises where no one is watching?